Hey guys, it's me, Freddy Pop Collector, and today we're going to be taking a look at a video topic that's been in my head for a few months now. Overall, there's been 3 different companies to touch animatronic modeling, that being Scott Cawthon, Steel Wool, and Illumix. Today we're going to be discussing the differences in between these models, comparing them, which ones I think pulled it off the best, which ones pulled it off the worst, and some overall interesting details I noticed about each. So let's just jump right into it with the mascot, Freddy Fazbear. Now, Freddy Fazbear has had 3 different models. Each one has a very distinct look, and each of them are good in their own way, I think. The VR model and the original model are very similar, but the one that really stands out here is the FNAF AR model. The FNAF AR model ditches the traditional fuzzy, matted look and goes for a more sleek and shiny. Even though the differences between Scott's model and Steel Wool's model are minor, they're still there. I'd say the most notable differences are the teeth and the accent colors. I'd say this is one of the less confusing cases where all 3 of them are pretty good, but if I had to choose, I'd say the worst one is probably the original model, then the AR model, and then the VR model. Next up is the Springtrap models, and I think it's pretty easy to tell which one is the worst one. The Springtrap model from VR is really weird. It has this really weird gap in the torso. It just overall looks off. It's a much closer competition with the AR model and the original model though. I think the AR model focuses much more on the details, the small details like the withering, the overall texture of the model, but I have to give the edge to the original model here. The main problem I have with Illumix's model is the eyes. I know that's really strange, but the original Springtrap's eyes were very distinct, very intimidating. They were the eyes of Purple Guy, but in AR they just look really weird, not threatening at all. Other than that though, it's a really close competition. So the last place is the VR model, then the Illumix model, and then the original model from Scott. I don't think anything's going to be able to top that. Now we're going to be taking a look at the 3 Toy Bonnie models, and this is a very similar story with Springtrap, only more severe. The Help Wanted Toy Bonnie model is easily the worst FNAF model in existence, and I don't say that lightly. Can you figure out what's wrong with it? I'll give you a few seconds to figure it out. Still waiting. Have you seen it yet? This is one of the most unnecessary design choices I've ever seen. What were they thinking over at Steel Wool, making the gap so big in his teeth you could land an airplane in between them? You may say I'm being a little bit overdramatic, but when the design is so strange and suffers so much from this one detail, what was wrong with the original? Why did they feel like they had to space them out so much? It's pretty clear that Illumix inspired their models off of the VR models more than the classic models, and they've made a good call not copying this model. Besides that one flaw in VR Toy Bonnie, everything else looks pretty good. The only noticeable difference between the classic model and the other 2 is that in VR they gave him a huge poofy tail, and that carried over into the AR model, so I think my ranking would go AR model, then the classic model, and then the VR model. Unlike last time, there's only 2 different models to talk about, but the drastic change between those 2 is definitely the most severe. Phantom Freddy in FNAF 3 was definitely one of my favorite Phantoms. He was based off the model of Withered Golden Freddy and Shadow Freddy, but in VR, it's the classic Freddy. I understand why they had to do this at first, because the Withered animatronics weren't in the game yet, and the Phantoms are based off the Withered, so I can understand, but when they added the Withereds in, I really wish that they fixed this. A similar scenario happened with Foxy in FNAF 2, where it was the classic Foxy for a while, but when Withered Foxy was modeled and added into the game in the Withered mode, they decided to change it. As far as which model I think is better, the original 10-1. There's nothing wrong with the new model, it's just way too different. Like VR Toy Bonnie and VR Springtrap, this new model just doesn't stick to the original the way the other models do. So I'd say the worser model in this case would be the new one, and the better one is the original. Like Phantom Freddy, Nightmare Bonnie only has 2 models to compare. As of recording this, he's not in AR yet, which I'm pretty sure he will be eventually, so right now we only have the VR model and the original model. I've heard a lot of people say that they're not a fan of the new Nightmare Bonnie model from Help Wanted, but I'm gonna be honest with myself, I actually think I prefer it to the original. I enjoyed the hallway crawl minigame, and in the gallery I think he looks pretty sick. The only problem I have with him is that he's a little bit too dark of a blue for my liking. A lot of the withering and smaller details you can't see because of how dark of a shade of blue he is. I can see why some people would prefer the classic model. It's a lot more iconic, a lot more original. I think you can see the details a lot better. But the VR model takes the original model, the 3-pieced ears, the bow tie, the withering on the hand and foot, and somehow makes it creepier and just, I think, a better look overall. So my ranking would go 2nd place the original model and 1st place the VR model. Toy Freddy is another character that has 3 models, and I feel like these are all pretty unique. Not only are none of them bad, but none of them are the same shade of color, and none of them have the same details. Scott's original model is a very caramel color, but the VR model and the AR model are a much more darker shade of brown. The accents on the VR model are also very tan, but in AR and the original model, they're more of an orange color. I can't really describe it, but all the models seem to have a different shape to them. It's kinda hard to explain, but I think you can kinda see what I'm talking about. So my ranking would be, since they're all pretty much the same, I'll just go which ones from I like the most to the least. So VR is my favorite, then Scott's model, then the AR model. The final character model we'll bring up today is Jacko Chica. Jacko Chica, like a few other characters on this list, hasn't been in AR yet, so she only has 2 models, being in VR and the original FNAF 4 DLC. Now listen, I don't know what it is with Steel Wool and their FNAF 4 models, but every single one just improves on the original so much, and this one does as well. In the FNAF 4 Halloween DLC, Jacko Chica kinda glowed, but not really. In the FNAF 4 Halloween DLC, it was okay, but in Curse of Dreadbear, the model just glows, literally. I'm gonna be perfectly honest, I don't have much else to say other than the fact that in Curse of Dreadbear, the glowingness really makes the model stand out from the rest. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Tell me if you want me to talk about more FNAF character models. I haven't even touched the iceberg yet. Also, thank you guys so much for almost 18,000 subscribers. Making videos for you guys, I've said it before, but making videos for you guys honestly does bring me a lot of joy. It gives me something to do, and I just really enjoy it. So thank you guys so much for watching my videos, and thank you so much for commenting on my videos. Just thank you guys so much, and thank you for watching, and I've said thank you too much. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.